Okay, so here we are with the second video of creating a Bootstrap website, building a Bootstrap website. And we're just down here working on the navigation bar. Now, one of the things we're going to want to do occasionally is preview this website. Now, you can preview your website. You can go up here to Live View and click on that, and that will show you kind of what your website will look like. But you can also use this button down here. Now, this button will allow you to preview your website in different browsers, and it's a little problematic sometimes. I have trouble getting it to preview the way I want to. What I tend to do is use something like Firefox or Chrome as my main browser, and then I'll often click this preview using temporary files just to get it to work right, and hit apply and then close. Now when you click on this, it should you should be able to just preview this in your browser, and there it is. Right now, so we know that this is a fixed width container with a responsive container in it. We know that the navigation bar has a responsive container, so what that means is as you shrink your website down smaller size, then the navigation bar and the header should shrink too, and they do in fact. And at a certain point, the navigation bar switches to what's called the hamburger menu, which is an expandable menu, and this is for tablets and smaller sized things like phones. And this is how you can see what your website will look like on a phone. You can grab it out to tablet size and, of course, desktop size. So we'll go ahead and leave that wide like that, and then come back to Dreamweaver. Now, these bars up here are also clues for you. You can click on this little gray thing here, this little handle, and by dragging it in at these certain catch points, it's going to shrink down to, like this is like generic tablet size, and this is like our 1200 pixels right here, and so on and so forth. So that's another way you can test out your web page. Okay, so what are we going to do? Well, we're going to add some more links in here because we want to, your average web page has about 5 different web pages, right? Or I should say website has about 5 different pages. So what we'll do is we'll come over here, we'll click on this word link, and that'll show us where that is in the code. And we'll simply highlight that whole line of code, right click and copy it. Click underneath it and maybe paste it in 3 more times. So 1, 2, 3, and then we got an extra space here, so we'll just go ahead and delete that out. Oops. Be careful about what I just did. Notice that I had accidentally got rid of this angle bracket by hitting delete. Now, unfortunately, HTML and CSS are very unforgiving languages. If you make any mistake whatsoever, you delete something, you put something extra in, it's going to show up, and more than likely it's going to break the page. So if you do something and things are broken, do Command-Z on the Mac or Control-Z on the PC as many times as necessary to get back to where things are working again. And then be really careful about your cutting and pasting and your deleting and adding. That stuff will mess you up when it comes to web design, so be careful about it. So now we have the 5 links and the search box here. And of course we can make these links whatever we want. We can make this one say home. This one can say like services. Oh, actually this is the one that should say home because that's the first one. So we'll make this one say services. This one could be gallery. And of course these will say whatever you want them to say that is relevant to the kind of website you're building. But there's some that are sort of generic and exist on every website, like home, about, and contact. And then the other ones could be a little more generic. Now these are, our actual navigation list item names here, and this describes the content that people are going to find on those pages. The way that they link to those pages is there's a placeholder here, this little pound sign, and if you made your home page is always called index, right? So what you do is you find this little pound sign inside of the A tag, and A means link, right? So here's beginning A and ending A. And what that means is that the word home is a link. And so href means what are you referring to, and that's the name of the page. So if you highlight that little pound sign and type in index.html, that means when somebody clicks on the home link, they're going to go to index.html. By the same token, if you had a page that was named services, you would name it services.html because that makes the most sense, and gallery.html. And of course, you know, I just gave my pages these names. Your page names may be different, and then you would type the name of your pages in here. Okay, so now we can see we have all that, and these are all properly linked to the pages that we'll go to. Now, these other pages haven't been built yet, only the index page, which is what we're on, but you know, once we're done with this, we can make additional pages, and then the links are ready there to go to them. As long as we just call them the same thing, when we make a new page for services, just call it services.html, just like this one's called index.html, and then when somebody hits that link, it will go to the proper page. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to center that navigation bar because it's over on the left. Now you may not want to, you may like it being on the left and you can keep it there, but we're going to center it. In order to center it, we have to grab some code that I went out on the web and found. Bootstrap is a popular open source or free system that got incorporated into Dreamweaver. So if you're having trouble with it, you can do a search on the internet. You can say, how do I, center my navigation bar in Bootstrap? Which is what I did because the code is a little problematic and it's hard to figure it out. So I found a half a dozen sites that gave me answers. I had to pour through them and try some different things out, and I finally found one that worked. So I grabbed the code from that site and I inserted it on my style sheet, and then it worked. And so now that's what you're going to do, is you're going to put some code on your style sheet that is going to show you, it's going to center your navigation bar for you. Now, I put that centering code on that little sample web page I've been working on the last couple weeks in class, which is the Happy Duck website. So I'm just going to go open that up so I can steal the code from it. So that's on my desktop. It's in a folder called Bootstrap 2. And so if I just go open this Happy Duck page here, see how that's centered, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over to the Bootstrap CSS style sheet for this, and this is the code that I want right here. So it's up here at the top of this page. It's called @media. And I told you guys in class this is called a media query. A media query means that what's happening is the web page is sending a question or a query to the hardware that's looking at it and saying, what are you? Are you a cell phone, a tablet, or a desktop? And based on that, it's going to, take some action. In this case, it's going to say, hey, if your minimum width of your device is 768 pixels, then we want to center the navigation and we want to make this whole navigation bar itself about 700 pixels wide and center it, right? So that's how it centers it. So what we're going to do is I'm simply going to copy this block of code here, right click and do copy. We're going to go over to index.html for our monkey page, and then click on the bootstrap.css. Once again, we're going to go up to the very top here so it's easy to find, and we're going to paste in this block of code. Now, it won't center right away because this block of code is what's called an ID. Remember I said that there were two very popular types of styles. One's called a class and one's called an ID. Now an ID is represented by a pound sign and a class is represented by a dot. So let me scroll down here until I find a class. Well, there's a bunch. Dot table, dot button default. So these are classes, things with dots in front of them. Those are general styles, and things with the pound sign are IDs that are generally only used once. Okay, so what's happening here is the reason the monkey nav bar isn't centering is because we haven't called the nav_center style yet. It's on our style sheet, but we haven't called it yet. So in order to call it, we need to know where to put the call. So the call to this code obviously exists on the duck page because this is centered. So what we have to do is look for this term nav center on the duck source code, which is the index page. So if we go down here, we scroll down, I can see it right away on line 28 here. It's inside the container fluid. See ID, remember that represented by the pound sign on the style sheet. ID equals nav center. Okay, so if I right click and copy this code, all I have to do is find my div class container fluid, which is inside of my navigation bar here, and I will be able to center that, right? So let's go. So we're going to look for navbar default, and then container fluid, and then nav center over on the monkey page. Okay, we go to the monkey page. Navbar default, container fluid, there it is. Click here, we hit our space bar to make a little space, and then we add in nav center, and now this all kind of centers, and for some bizarre reason our search box went down below. Now the reason it went down below is because the existing code says this can only be 700 pixels wide, but with our navigation bar search box, it's much wider than that. So what we have to do is go back to our Bootstrap, and we have to say, you know what, let's make this 900 pixels wide. Give us a little more room. And sure enough, there it is. And it's not quite as centered as it was before. So that's a little bizarre. Let's see. I think that there's a couple different things we could do in this case. One is, if we got rid of the search box and the submit button and took this back to 700, it would probably look pretty good right in the middle. You know, we could have left the search box and the submit over here on the right side. That probably would have been a good idea. That navigation that I cut out over here, I probably could have just put those over there. So, yeah, because this is sort of a weird size now, I think I want to get rid of the search box and the submit. And let's change this back to 700 pixels. Okay, which is going to make it at 2 lines again. And then let's go back to the source code and click on the search box. Let's see what happens if we get rid of this whole search section here, right, which is from the form tag to the end form tag. So if I get rid of those, wow, I'm still like SOL. That's terrible. There's our 700 pixels wide, but it still doesn't look like it's centering. Wow. So I'm just totally host. Okay, what if we made it smaller now? This looks like we could take 200 pixels off. So I'm just kind of playing around with my options here just to try to get something that looks good. Okay, yeah, see at 500, it looks way more centered. I can't really tell. Let's see, this size. Looks like it's still a little off to the left. Let's play with this a little bit. Okay, so let's just live with that. That's close enough for now. We could sit and mess with it all day, but let's just say that these are the links that we want to use, and that's how we want to use it. All right? So, now, you might say to yourself, well, hey, I don't have the duck page. Where am I going to get this piece of code here? Well, all you have to do is type this into your style sheet. Okay, so you can go to your monkey page here, go to your bootstrap.css, and then simply, pause this recording and just type this stuff that you see here. Don't worry about typing this gray stuff. These are just comments for you. Okay. Just type everything in color over here, and don't forget to type these curly braces and stuff. When you type all that, then make sure and go onto your source code and locate where the navbar, the div class container fluid is inside of the navbar tag, and add ID equals quote nav underscore center, and you'll center that. Then you can do what I did and mess with the size of this, the width, if you want to get rid of the search box and so on and so forth. Okay, so that'll give us a centered navigation bar. Now, as far as customizing the nav bar goes, we want to do things like customize the background color, customize the colors of these links, and maybe customize this background color, which is called a focus background color. And this means whatever page you're currently on, what is the background color behind the name of the page you're currently on, just to highlight that page. And you don't have to have that if you don't want it. It's just an option, right? Okay, so how are we going to figure out what code we're going to change on the style sheet to change this background, right? Well, what I had shown you guys was that if you hold down your, on a Macintosh, if you hold down your control key and click on the element that you want to figure out where the code is, it'll give you this pop-up menu, and what you can click on is this thing called Code Navigator. Now, what Code Navigator is it takes you into all the code that's relevant to this thing that you're working on right here. So it's this big list, and you can scroll down. And basically, you're looking for things that have the word navbar in them, and there will be a lot. And you can see that this one at the bottom, you can scroll over them and it'll show you what the different attributes are for those. And this one at the bottom, background color, F8, 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 that refers to the gray background color of this current navbar. So what I can do is I can click on this button here, and it will take me to that section of the CSS style sheet. And you can see, here's the background color. Now, if I want to test this out and make sure I'm in the right place, I can just highlight this code and just type any old style in there, and it will come up as the style for that section. Now, I had to click up here to get it to activate, but there it is, sure enough. So it's the red color, right? Now, let's say I want to make this background fit in with the rest of my page. I might want to make it a light green that I select from back here. So what I can do, if I delete my color and I delete the colon after background color, then I hit Shift and click on a colon button to get a colon, I can then go to my color picker and choose a color, right? Or, you know, without going back to Photoshop, I can click on this little eyedropper icon and select a color. So I could try and select maybe a medium green here, and then hit my enter button. Okay, and that green just sucks. So I think I'm gonna have to choose a darker green. So I did Command Z to get rid of that. I got to get rid of my colon here and do that again. Color picker. Let's just pick a dark green, shall we? Maybe this one here. Hit enter. Okay, I'm kind of picky. I still don't like that green. So I'm going to try one more time. Three's the charm. I think I'm just going to have to pick a super dark greeny green. Okay, that one better work, or else we're in trouble. Okay, still not my favorite, but let's just work with it so we're not here all day. Okay, so you can see it put in the pound sign and then the hexadecimal number, right? Now, what about this background color here, which is called the focus color, which highlights whatever we're on, right? So I can click on that. I can just right-click on it or control-click on it to get my Code Navigator option here. I can scroll down to the bottom, and if I go to this very bottommost style here, you can see that the background color says E7, E7, E7. That's that nasty gray back there. So I can click on this and change this to a color, and this one will work a lot better. I'll just pick a light green from my choices here. Okay, and there it is, right? Now, like I said, you can get rid of that if you want to. If you don't want it to have any color at all, you could change this. I'm gonna cut this out so I can add it back in. But you could say background color, and then you could say something like none. Let's see if none will work. Sometimes these don't work. We could say transparent. That should work. of course, there it goes. Okay, so transparent means there's no background color, so that gets rid of. So if you don't like that block, that focus block, just put this word transparent in. You'll get rid of it. Okay. Now I'm just going to Command Z a few times until I get back to my light green color, and then click in here to see it show up again. Now I'm going to do File, Save All, because I like to save on a regular basis. Now, the next thing we want to do is maybe change the color of those links. And so what we would have to do is roll over one of the links, right-click, do Code Navigator, scroll down here. Now, this one's going to be a little trickier because I can tell you right now, these links, if you remember, they're list items, and the code for that is li, right? So the code I'm going to need to find in the Code Navigator here, it's going to say something about the nav bar, but it's also going to say li, which means list item, and it's also going to have the word a, or the code a, which means link, because these are all of those things. They're inside the navigation bar, they are list items, and they are linked to pages. So far, my Code Navigator didn't come up with any of those LIs and A's, so I can tell that I'm not in the right place. So let me try again. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to right-click on the text itself, click on Code Navigator. Okay, so now you see navbar default, navbar dash nav. Down here it says LI, which means list item, A hover, which means when you roll over it, and blah, 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 all the way down to focus. This one is navbar default, navbar list item A. And then color means the color of the text, and it's like a dark gray, which is like a black. So I'm thinking this might be a good place to start. So let's click there, and it highlights where we are here. And let's see, you know, I always do these little tests to see if I'm in the right place. Click up here. And sure enough, you see I typed the word red, and it changed all of these to red, right? So that means I'm in the right place for what we call the upstate of the links, which is just the links just sitting there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change those to a color which is really easy to see against this background, so high contrast color. So what I'll do is I'll put FFF, which is a white color, and then click up here again. And now you see that they're all white. Okay. Now, what this is saying is that if they're links, make them white. And they're all links, so that makes them white, with the exception of the one which is the in focus one, which is the page you're on. And that's a different code, right? You can see down here that it says a focus. And that means the one with this back here, right? And then here's a color for that. So let's see if this is the color that affects this one. If it is, you know, if we type the word red in here and that turns red, then we're golden. And it does. Okay. So let's go ahead and make that a different color. So let's just say that if you roll over, let's say that we want this to be black. That makes it easy. So we'll just say #000, which represents black. And then we click up here. And sure enough, that's black now. Okay. Now, the other thing that is happening is when you roll over these, they change color. And this is called the hover property, when you hover your mouse over it, right? So what we need is the list item, which is a link, but then which also is being hovered over. And that's right here. You could say list item, link, and then hover. So that would be this thing right here. So let's say we want to make this like a yellow color or something. So what we could do is delete everything, add the colon back in, click on the color picker, and then we could just, maybe we can just click our eyedropper and select this yellow so that it's consistent. And now if we go up here, if we roll over these, see how they become yellow on the rollover, right? Now there's other styles you can do. You can change the size of the font, you can space these letters out, you can change the type of font, things like that. And all that's in here in this section. You can look around in there and play with it and do different things you want. And also research on the web how to do some of this stuff. But we're doing some of the most basic stuff here. Okay, so now let's see. I think the last thing that I would want to do would be to make this rollover change color. You notice these are all changing color. This one isn't. This one's going to be a little tougher because we're going to need to find this particular style and then the LIA hover for this particular focus style. So let's right click on this. Let's do Code Navigator. Okay. Let's click on that. Okay, so it comes here and it tells us, oh, I see what it's doing. In this case, what it's doing is it's saying that both the link item and the hover item are the same color. So that's why when you roll over, it doesn't change color. So actually, this is kind of weird, but if we broke this out into its own individual style, we could make it so that it changed colors when you rolled over it. So let me try doing that. So this is going to be kind of weird, but I'm going to highlight this entire style here, copy it, make some space down here, paste it back in. Now, what I want is, I don't want this thing to be up here, because if it's part of this, it's always going to make the hover over color black, right? I want it to be down here, and I want it to be its own style. So I'm basically going to get rid of the other two styles that were joined with that. So now we have the two styles up here by themselves with these attributes, and this style down here with these attributes. So then if I steal this, if I put the yellow color in as the hover color, okay, and then click up here. Okay, now you can see that this is black when it's just sitting there, which is this link right here. And then the background color is the A focus, which is this color, it's the light green, right? But then we've taken the hover style and we've broken it out away from those and made it the yellow color when you roll over it like that. So this is an example of, you can see when you have like 3 different styles with commas in between them, and then the attributes, all 3 of these have the same attributes. But when you break them out individually like this, you can give them different attributes. Okay, so there's our navigation bar. Now, I'm going to go ahead and save all. Ready to move on to the next section, which is the main content area here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in some pictures. I'm going to put in like 4 pictures going across of different monkeys. And I'll take one of those pictures out and put some text in just to show you how that would work if you have some text in any of these sections. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go back to the free images site and pick 4 monkeys, and I'm going to pause the recorder while I'm doing that. So the next that you hear from me, I'll have the 4 images, because I don't want you to have to wait around while I do that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick 4 monkeys, I'm going to download them, and then we know that the width of this is 1200 pixels. So 1200 divided by 4 is 300. So that means I'm going to get 4 images of monkeys. I'm going to make the width of each one 300 pixels so that I can put 4 monkeys going across. I'm going to give them all the same height. And then I'm going to store them all inside my images folder as, monkey 1, 2, 3, 4. And so in just a second, I'll be back and I'll have those monkeys and we'll just go ahead and insert those. So I'll be right back. So I took a second and found some monkey pictures. I resized those, downloaded them and resized them, and then saved them as pings here, monkey 1, 2, 3, 4 in my images folder. Okay, so now what I want to do is go back to my source code. And in my source code, I'm going to locate the bottom of this page, once again by finding the last 2 divs and clicking above that and making some space. And then I'm going to go over here to my insert panel, and I'm now going to insert my main section. It's going to be a grid row, a column. It's going to be a row with 4 columns in it that will hold the 4 monkey pictures. So I'll click grid row with column. I'll say that I want 4 columns. And so you can see it made the row itself, and then it made 4 column divs. Each one is large 3, because 3 times 4 equals 12, right? So then what I can do is I can put the responsive image thumbnail in each one of these divs and then replace it with my monkey images. So I'll click there and I'll drop in the responsive thumbnail, and then I'll save this so that that code gets a lot nicer looking. Now I can right click on this and hit copy and then just go in here and paste it in 3 more times in between these divs, and then we get our little navigation items here showing up of I'm sorry, not navigation items, but we see our responsive thumbnail images showing as these gray images, right? Now what we have to do, like we did before, is replace the name of the placeholder image with the name of the image we want. So in this case, it would be monkey 1 at the beginning there. So I'll highlight this, put in monkey1.ping, and something is, oh, see, this shows you what I was demonstrating before, or what I was talking about before, is how unforgiving HTML and CSS is. I'm actually glad this happened. See how I wrote mob key instead of monkey? And so see, I wrote monkey here, but it's mob key over here, so we have what's called a broken image link. So this is why you have to be exact with your verbiage, with your text and everything. Now I could fix this one of 2 ways. I could either go change this to be a monkey, or I could change this to say mob key, right? Well, I'm just going to be lazy and change this to mob key because it'll just go a little faster. These other ones looks like they're spelled correctly, so I'll go ahead and make this monkey 2 and then monkey 3. Now if I wanted to, I could be, you know, kind of super efficient, copy this, paste it over this, and then just change the 2 to a 3 to make my 3rd monkey, and then finally paste it in again and make that a 4. Now we've got all our monkeys. Now over here in the alt tags, you could put, you know, the names of your monkeys. So, you know, monkey 1. Well, I don't know what kind of monkeys these are. I know there's all different kinds of chimps and monkeys out there, baboons and such. But I don't know what they are, so I'm just going to put these. And it is a good idea to put placeholder tag or alt tags in here, because they will show up. So if you're not going to put them in, the least you could do is delete whatever's in there so that it's empty, instead of saying something like placeholder image, because that would look really bad. Okay, so we'll make this one monkey 4. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and do file save all. We'll preview this in the browser. Okay, so now we got some monkeys hanging out in this section down here. We can see that they have a blue background, and that's because the container itself has the blue background. You remember we did that before. Now we can make that background color whatever color we want. That kind of fits with the website. Same with the red container on the outside. Or we could give it no color. We could say background transparent, and there would be no color. But since we're going with this green theme here, why not make that green? Now I can also select colors in my browser here via this plugin right here. This is something called Colorzilla. You can see the little name down there. And what this is a free browser plugin. You can just go do a search. You could say Colorzilla for Firefox or Colorzilla for Chrome or whatever, and then download it. And what it allows you to do is click on this little eyedropper, and let's see, what's it one? And then you roll over your mouse over the page, and see it selects the color that you're rolling over, and it shows it up as a hexadecimal, and as soon as you click on it, it copies it to your clipboard so that you can just paste it in wherever you want to. So, you know, just for the sake of argument, it looks like I'm going to have to stick with some dark colors here. So let me get this dark green here in this shadow. And what it did was it showed me that it copied that to my clipboard. So now I can go in here and notice that I have container fluid background blue. So I could change this background blue to be whatever's in my clipboard, which is this dark green right here, right? And so now we see, if we save this and preview it in the browser, hello. So now we have that dark green back there. Now, you know, you could go on like this all day with your colors, but I don't want to go too nuts. So I don't really feel the need to have a color out here in the outside of everything, so I think I'm just going to make that background be transparent. So that is my red, which is right here. So there's two ways I could do this. One, I could just say background equals transparent, or I could just get rid of the style altogether, and then we go back to being transparent, which is what it was initially. But I'll go ahead and make it transparent just so you guys can see the usefulness of that. You can see that the div is still back there. This blue line represents the outer edge of the div, but now it's transparent. Now I guess for me, I would probably rather do it this way, because if I ever wanted to see that again, I could just come back up here and change that to red, and it would be easy to see, right? Okay, so we're just going to do save all. Now I told you that I would take one of these monkey pictures out and show you how to put text in an area, because obviously you're not just going to have images in your main content area. So let's try that. So I'll click on this first monkey here. It's going to highlight him down here, and let me just cut him to the pasteboard so I can put him back in. But I'll just put some text in. So I'll right click and I'll just say, whoa, I don't want to do that. I just want to cut it. So let's just do edit. Whoa, it's not letting me do anything. Okay, hold on. Let me just highlight it. Now you should let me cut that out. Yes, cut. Okay, so the monkey's gone. So let's say I want to put some text in here. So I can go out to this website that I showed you in class, which is the Lorem Ipsum website, lipsum.com. And this will just give us some dummy text to put in. And so all you do is click Generate Lorem Ipsum. You tell it how many paragraphs or words you want, and it will make some text. Now I got a problem here. If I copy this, I'm going to lose my monkey that's on my clipboard. So I know this is going to look terrible and it's going to be screwed up, but I'm just going to paste my my monkey one over here just so I have him in there, and then I'm going to go grab some of this Lorem Ipsum text. So we'll just grab this block of text here. It's probably going to be too much, but that's okay. We'll cut it down. So now we're going to go back up to this first div here and paste in that Lorem Ipsum text. Now, you can see it's in there, but it's like this crazy gray color, which is impossible to see. So once again, just for the sake of argument, we could put an inline style here, and we could say that the color, which represents the text color, is going to be white. Okay, and now you can see that it's showing up. Okay, so we probably, like I said, we probably have too much text in there. Oh, actually, it's pretty good. Now, if we wanted it to look really nice, we could make it so that it has the same amount. It comes down to the same place as all these other pictures, right? But maybe we can get that to happen by putting a little headline up at the top. So what we could do is we could say, we could put in something called like an H3 tag and say headline, right? And then end H3. Okay, and see how an H3 tag makes a headline of a certain size. There's H1 through H6, H6 being the smallest, H1 being the largest. So like, for example, if I made this an H1 tag, you can see how big it is, right? And you might want that size, or you might want a smaller size. So I'm going to go with H3, and that's going to give me a certain size headline. And then I'm going to see that, you know, if I want this to sort of match the size of everything else, I'm probably going to have to take out this last line of text. I tried to highlight it in there and it didn't like it, so I'm just going to delete it here. And so now you can see that this comes down nearly to the bottom of those, and that makes a nice little piece of text, right? Now, maybe I should leave that in there just for grins and get rid of this extra monkey that I have. I can always bring him back later, cut him out of there. See, that's annoying. If you just click on it, it won't give you the regular commands. It thinks you're trying to do something Dreamweaver-y. You have to highlight it manually to get rid of it. Okay, so now this looks a little more like a real website in that we would have some text and some images, right? So let's go ahead and save everything, Command S, and then preview it, and let's take a look at how it resizes. So you can see, you know, there's everything, and then when we get down to the tablet view, okay, now this is one thing I want to show you. See, the content that's in the middle is going to stack up, right? So we're going to have our headline, which is the first box, is going to appear first, then we're going to have our monkeys, like that, right? Now, obviously this looks a little weird, and it's going to, there's our menus, right? And when we get down here, it's going to start to look better when we get down to the phone size, right? But there is some weirdness about this. Like, it looks okay as long as we're in this layout, but the second that you get to a tablet and it starts to stack up, these look weird because they're not centered. So that's one thing that we would probably want to do, is center that text. And then it would be nice if there was a little room between them. So let's see what we can do about that. So right here we have the monkey, the first monkey, and it's not centered at all. So what we could do is we could simply add a paragraph tag in here and say align equals center. And a paragraph tag is just, will center text or images, right? So we'll do that, and then we'll have to put our end paragraph tag, which is, paragraph tag is represented by the letter P. And so we'll just put /P right here. That's the end paragraph tag. And this is the beginning paragraph tag P, and then align center, right? Now, if we did that for monkey number 2, which is this one, and we save it, and then we go preview it, you see how he's centered, and that's going to look a lot better in the smaller views, right? Now, we also want some space between them. So we could do something like, we could put break tags, which look like this, and you see that pushed him down a little bit. So if we put a break tag in between, right before, oops, if we highlight this break tag and copy it, and then put that before each image so that it pushes it down a little bit. Maybe we can even put it before the headline here, so the headline has the same amount of information going down as everything else. Okay, then let's put our paragraph align centers around the images. So that one didn't copy correctly. Let me try again. So this is the tricky part about Dreamweaver. You have to manually drag over and select something in order to copy it. Because if you just click on it, it's not going to like that. So what I did was I just put the beginning tag of the paragraph with the align center in front of the next 2 images. And I put the ending tag, the paragraph ending tag, at the end of the next 2 images. And that's going to align that stuff to the center. Now the text, I'm okay with the text being over on the left-hand side for now. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so see how now there's a little space between these guys, and it's okay that the text is like this. I mean, if you wanted to, you could center that headline or whatever, but now we have the monkey and a space and another monkey and another monkey, right? So that clearly looks better than what we had before. And of course, because the monkeys are kind of narrow, they look better, probably best in this view and in this view. And this is sort of the red-headed stepchild of the you know, both of them, which is this sort of navigation view of the tablet, right? And sometimes you get that. You get a website. Oftentimes you get a website that looks better in certain formats than others, and that's, you know, you just kind of have to live with that. So the last thing we'll do is just put a footer on the bottom of this. So we'll go down here, once again to our web page. We'll find the last two divs and make some space above those. Since that's the bottom of our site, we'll simply go over here back to Insert. We'll drop in a grid row with column, and we'll make this column just one big column Y, which is going to take up all 12 sections. So then inside here, we'll simply type what's called a special character, a special symbol, ampersand copy, semicolon, will make a copyright symbol, and then we'll say 2017, like Monkey Business Inc. Right? Now, when we go look at that, we're just going to see a little div down here with some text in it. We can't even read the text really because it's so hard to see. So let's put a paragraph tag in here and align it to center, which will center the text. Okay, and then closing bracket. Over here, we'll close the paragraph. And then let's put some style in here. Once again, these should go on your style sheet, but I'm just putting them here because it's expeditious. So we'll say color equals, or expedient I should say, white color for the text. And so you can see now that's showing up and it's centered. And of course we could use a little space around that. So let's use that break tag again to create a little space there. Okay, and there we go. Alright, so let's save this. Okay, now so there's our website. Now, of course, your website is going to have your own unique concerns that you're going to be dealing with. It won't be identical to this, but for your first website, you might want to make it easy on yourself and try and work with some pretty straightforward layouts. You know, you're working with rectangles, you're working with columns. Just try and get everything to work and make it as simple as possible on yourself. And you know, the big goal is to make it so that it looks at least decent in all three formats. You know, the best thing would be for it to look great in all three formats, but because it's resizing and being viewed on different devices, it's not necessarily always going to look great everywhere. So you want to go for the lowest common denominator, which is for it to look at least good and decent everywhere, and then look super good in certain formats, preferably the ones that people would visit the most, like say the cell phone and the desktop. Okay, so there it is. There is our website that we built with Bootstrap over 2 videos. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this this web page, this completed web page, which will have it'll look just like this. It'll be a folder. I'll just call it Bootstrap 3. Okay, and it's going to have all this stuff in it, including the header image for the monkey and these 3 monkey images and so on and so forth. Now I'll get rid of this master files because you don't need this PSD of the monkey. We don't necessarily need that. But what you can do is download, you know, I'll put some text on our website telling you to download this web page, and you can keep that as reference, and then if you want to, you can go ahead and build the monkey page with me as I'm doing the video, or you can just sort of build your own web page while you're watching the video using your own images and such. And if you have any questions, of course, you can email me or ask me in class. I think that's it for our video right now, so good luck, and I'll see you in class.